I think we all need to be a little bit very cautious about anybody that's using the premise of God as a basis to make major life decisions in their life. So don't let any modern day influencer, preach gospel to you and tell you to put your own personal self-love and self-respect and self-worth behind the concept of God.
The fascination with loving yourself is gnostic narcissism. You should have respect for yourself, not love for yourself. You should have love for your God and love for your wife.
This is exactly what the Good Problems to Have movement is going after. This culture of judgment, right? This culture of dogma, this culture of gospel, this culture of judgment that has caused a lot of misery at the personal level to a lot of people. Self-love, love is within. Your power is within. And your adulation should be to yourself, the individual level, okay? People are afraid to feel powerful, so to speak. And I think a lot of these influencers that kind of preach gospel are also afraid that you're going to feel too powerful. Welcome to another episode of Good Problems to Have. I am your host, David Nima. I am an attorney by trade, turned happiness coach and life coach. I'm also author of the book, Good Problems to Have, The Anatomy of Contemporary Happiness. And in today's episode, we are going to debunk gospel in just a few minutes. So, I've been seeing a lot of videos lately about just different types of influencers who are preaching, this kind of allegiance to God and as a basis for making major life decisions, right? And one of my favorite sayings that I like to debunk is using God as a moral compass, right? Apparently, that's supposed to mean that kind of do what God would do in terms of who you're going to marry, what kind of career you're going to go into, and a whole bunch of other personal life decisions. In my opinion, if you're using God as a basis to make life decisions, major life decisions, you're not a serious person. Okay, the concept of God is something that is not rooted in reality. Okay, and it is problematic when you hear different influencers preaching against self-love, for example, and instead saying that you should love God before you love yourself. Okay, so let's debunk that a little bit here. And a video recently that I'm going to cover in today's podcast is by Charlie Kirk, and he pretends to debunk self-help culture in under 3 minutes. So let's listen to a few snippets of this video, and we'll go through it together. Okay, here we go.
The fascination with loving yourself is gnostic narcissism. You should have respect for yourself, not love for yourself. You should have love for your God and love for your wife. You should have respect for yourself, but you should have respect enough to say that I could be more than I am today, and I'm going to delay my own immediate gratification. And you should have love instead for the divine or for the creator, more specifically, in my view, the creator that took human form, Jesus Christ, that allows you to live forever.
So that right there, so he is essentially espousing that you should not have, I think what he's trying to say is humility. And he's trying to say that you should have humility and have self-respect without self-love. This doesn't really make sense to me. It's almost impossible to have respect for any entity without love for that entity. In fact, the term respect is really one of those buzzwords that doesn't really mean much in terms of, it's a very loose term. Love is a little bit more of a concrete term. There's the 5 languages of love, and you can always analyze love, any kind of type of love, through the 5 languages of love. I'm not sure about the term respect. It's a very loose term. And, I think that the fact that he's kind of espousing for belief in a higher being here is just, again, this is antiquated gospel, essentially. at the expense of the self-help and self-love movement, which in my opinion is tremendously important. And you'll start to see a lot of these influencers use any kind of fantastical argument they can to try to push for the love of God, and specifically, I guess in his case, his love of his God, Jesus Christ. So, rather than self-love, the individual kind of, your power comes from within. Your power doesn't come from any kind of external source, okay? And I think as you see in some of my previous videos, we discussed kind of praying for your family to help you or be responsible for your happiness, praying for your government to help you and be responsible for your happiness, praying to God to help you and be responsible for your happiness. None of these entities are going to be responsible for your happiness. It is on you to be responsible for yourself and make your own decisions based on your own moral compass, okay? Not this abstract God's moral compass, which, again, is not really a helpful phrase, in my opinion. We have a lot of respect for a lot of religious leaders in our communities. I think there's a lot of wisdom in Scripture that we can utilize in contemporary society. But I've also seen religion essentially do a lot of harm to a lot of people, right? At the personal level, in terms of judgment and judging yourself and judging others against this universal kind of quote unquote moral compass. I discussed kind of releasing yourself from judgment in chapter 8 of Good Problems to Have. And I think this is kind of what this whole discussion is about, is the freedom from this kind of abstract moral code, so to speak, that we're all supposed to live by, and always come short of being quote unquote perfect, and therefore be in a constant state of despair and judgment towards ourselves and towards others. So, this is exactly what the Good Problems to Have movement is going after. This culture of judgment, right? This culture of dogma, this culture of gospel, this culture of judgment that has caused a lot of misery at the personal level to a lot of people, myself included. And it has caused misery at the macro level through religious wars, okay? So don't tell me about these kind of influencers that are espousing positive manifestations, positive affirmations, self-love and self-help, and putting the power into the individual. And you're decrying that and saying that that's bad for some reason, right? So there's a lot that we can say about religion and all the harm that it has caused, okay? Self-love, love is within. Your power is within. And your adulation should be to yourself, the individual level, okay? People are afraid to feel powerful, so to speak. And I think a lot of these influencers that kind of preach gospel are also afraid that you're going to feel too powerful, right? And a lot of them espouse humility as one of the top things that I think we all should be aware of, which, again, I don't need to be humble per se. I have the laws of physics and the laws of my local community to keep me humble, okay? I'm humbled by law. Natural law and man-made law. I don't need this abstract higher being in the sky, specifically his boy, Jesus Christ, to govern my life, okay? I am governed by myself and the social contracts that I'm involved in, whether I like it or not. If you're born in the United States, you automatically enter into a social contract. You automatically have rights as soon as you're born in the United States. And as soon as you are capable of doing anything, you can be charged with a crime if you violate the social contract. Okay? And there's also the laws of physics, right? I don't need to stay humble. If I walk over an edge and fall because of gravity, it'll humble me. right? So I don't need the universe or God as a moral compass, okay? I don't need any kind of compass. My compass is governed by the surroundings around me, kind of social contract in the locality in which I'm living. That humbles me, not, my fear of God, okay? So, I think we all need to be a little bit very cautious about anybody that's using the premise of God as a basis to make major life decisions in their life. Major decisions in their life. Using this abstract concept of God that's as fantastical as Santa Claus.
Find faith, and then maybe I can be a better version of myself. The West was built on that. The West was not built by a bunch of people on the Mayflower Compact saying, I'm in deep love with myself. The Declaration of Independence was not signed by 56 people that were into self-love. It was signed by people who loved the Lord, loved their family, and loved their country. I encourage you to do the same.
The founders were tremendously afraid and against any type of tyrannical power, whether it was from the government or God. And that's why the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution is founded on individual liberty and essentially barriers to stop anybody from imposing any type of religion, right? Through the First Amendment and the freedom of speech and the freedom of association and freedom of religion, which is the First Amendment in the Constitution, right? And their whole philosophy behind limited government, right? So those are two tremendous barriers to having God or country impose on your individual liberty and your individual rights. So don't let any modern day influencer, preach gospel to you and tell you to put your own personal self-love and self-respect and self-worth behind the concept of God. Thanks for tuning in. This is David Nima, host of the podcast Good Problems to Have. Make sure to like and subscribe and share this with your friends. I will see you all in the next video.